Welcome to my channel.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're just joining us for the first time, my name is Udwak Isong, also known as Auntie Koko, and this is another edition of Everyday People. Today, I caught up with Lani, who is one of Nigeria's foremost writers. He's also called the King of Series. He's had several shows on Ndani and has been part of some of your favorite series on Africa Magic TV. He has also very recently become a showrunner. Please join me as we welcome Mr. Lani. So, Lani, thank you very much for talking to us. Lani is a writer.
Yet, but yes.
Well, for agreeing to talk to us. Lani is a writer and has very recently transitioned to producing as well. So a lot of people have no idea what the filmmaking process is. People think that these actors come up with those lines, and sometimes I see people saying, "Oh, I like her dialogue." Whose dialogue, my friend? It's a writer that wrote it.
We wrote it.
So if you can very briefly tell us about how you come up with stories.
Yeah.
From the start to when it gets to the producer.
Right. So obviously, thank you for having me. But so with writing, obviously, there are times when you have original stories where you come up with these stories either based on life experiences or based on situations that you near experience, or just things that come to you, obviously, as a creative. And there are other times where the producer comes to you and says, "Oh, they have this story that they want to tell." But then, or sometimes when they say they have a story they want to tell, it's usually like an idea. Then you have to mash it up into a story using the concept of filmmaking and telling stories for TV. And then you put the structure to the story, and then you script the story, put it in 70, 80, 90, 100 pages if it's a feature film, and then you send it to the producer and you collect your dollars. That's it.
I like that part. Don't forget that I'm also a writer, so I don't know about this dollar business.
We're speaking it into manifestation.
Good. So Lani is one of the writers of one of the episodes or seasons of Skinny Girls in Transit, which is one of Nigeria's most popular series. So how do you feel to have been part of such a big project, and why do you think that worked as much as it did?
So I tell people that it's the transition for me that was sort of important, because more times than not, when I come on a series, I'm part of the conceptualization process. I rarely come on board, say, season 2. So I sort of have an idea of where the stories are going and whatnot. But with Skinny Girl, there was a lot of pressure because, one, it was a huge show. It is a big show, and it was a success. So it was almost like, and that was one of the first seasons where the writer who was near on responsible for the basically the writer of it for every season before that wasn't going to be a part of it. So a part of me was fearful, because I would have preferred her to be a part of it because I believe that she knew and knows the characters. But then I wrote it with someone who wrote the previous season as well. So obviously I let the person take the lead, and but it's good to experience that kind of storytelling. It's good to be part of a show that people love. People have huge expectations for the characters, So sometimes you go in the direction that people expect the story to go. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's a good thing. More times than not, it's a good thing. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is that we make people feel. And that's what story is about. And yes.
Okay, so this is a question that people ask me that annoys me. So I'm going to ask you, being a guy, because I think that many times they only ask women. So
right.
Now that I'm the one who has
question.
a chance to ask, so how do you cope being a dad and a husband in Nollywood?
In Nollywood?
Yes.
So I'll be honest and say that it was easier being a writer, because the honest truth is that as a writer, I write from the comfort of my home. So it wasn't really a problem. Obviously, my kids are a bit grown now, so every time I'm writing, someone is jumping on my laptop, there's that. But then as a producer, it's a bit more difficult because you have to be away from home. And obviously, as a producer, there are more things that you have to worry about. As a writer, I only had to worry about the scripts, the characters. But as a producer, I'm worried about post. I'm worried about what do you call it? I'm worried about post. I'm worried about the music. I'm worried about the scoring. I'm worried about basically every element of it that I didn't bother myself with. But so the honest truth is that to cope with it, you can do it alone, which isn't that easy. But then you have to have a strong support system, and I think my wife is a strong support system, and my family in general. But I don't think it's something that you can do alone if you want to have a good home and to have a good career. Yes.
So would you say that you have a good home and a good career?
Yes. To date, I'll say yes. And I hope that it gets better.
That's awesome. Okay, so why did you decide to add producing to your portfolio?
So I don't know, obviously not many people know about me, but I don't know if many people know this.
Then you'll be surprised how many people know about you.
Right. So I don't know if many people know this, but when I first started in Nollywood, I started as a producer. My first script, I was a producer on it, but then when I wrote the script and everything, I realized was that there's so much to learn about screenwriting. So I decided to drop the producer hat and focus and go in depth on screenwriting for a few years. So I feel like now I'm at that place where I'm still learning about screenwriting, but I can now juggle learning screenwriting and producing at the same time based on, I have a good foundation in screenwriting to add producing now. And the reason I'm adding producing is because I believe that I have more, I won't say control, but more impact on the story. A lot of people think storytelling is just, writing is just, oh, the character says this, but it's a lot. It's about the costuming of the character. It's about the location you place the character. And now I'm seeing why, as a writer, you abuse the producer. Oh, why did they put it? Why didn't they? I wrote it in a swimming pool, next to a swimming pool. Why is this shot in the house? And I'm abusing them. And now I'm realizing some of the challenges they face. You're losing days. Sometimes you're losing nights.
Like right now.
So you get to understand the whole process. And you can't remove the problems of Nigeria from the problems of filmmaking in Nigeria. But still, I believe that I want to have more control in telling better stories. That's why I jumped into producing. My answers are too long.
No, they're perfect. I love them. You're a good interviewee. Okay, so very quick. My last question would be, well, it's not really a question, for you to very briefly talk to upcoming writers. Like, what is the most important thing? What they need to know? And I say this because I get a lot of scripts. I get a lot of people saying that they want to write, they're writers, and just from their pitch, I know that they cannot write. So what would be the first thing they need to do first before coming into my DM?
Discipline. It's discipline, and I think that discipline comes across in a lot of things. In the way someone approaches me for the first time, I can sense. I don't have supernatural powers, but you can sense this discipline. You can sense the people that are using this as an avenue to just make money, and because I tell people that screenwriting is very important, and it's not just important in film. It's important in the building of the moral compass of the nation, in my opinion. So it's a bit spiritual. It's like, what are you letting out into the world? So I'm very passionate about people that do not see this as just a money-making scheme, but they have things to say. The way I tell people that screenwriters or filmmakers are influencers. You might not be making the money from the brand, but like a skinny girl, you are going to be, if you have 1 million views, that's 1 million people watching something that you wrote. What do you want to say? So for me, it's the discipline is knowing your why, and having strong convictions. But I say discipline because screenwriting can be a lonely place, and you need to be able to work without anyone putting pressure on you. And screenwriting is one of the best in the Nollywood food chain or the filmmaking food chain. I think is one of the best careers to have, in that as an actor, someone has to hire you before you act. As an editor, someone has to have shot something before you edit. But as a writer, nobody has to hire you. So then, before I became known or before anybody hired me, I had like 10 scripts because I was just writing. I was writing rubbish. I was writing the good things. I was finding my voice. Before anybody now said, oh, let me pay this guy 10 naira, you know, or $10 or $100 to be able to say, you know what, why come and write for me? So having that discipline to write and knowing your why before anybody even says, come and do this for me, why are you doing it? And do you have the discipline to write? Do you have the discipline to go through several drafts? Do you have the discipline to take notes from producers and other people who feel that it might not be the way you want it, but how can you work with other people? And I'll stop there. But there are many things, but yes, discipline.
Thank you so much. So this one, I'm just going to ask you random play questions. Like,
right.
For instance, semo or fufu?
No, naturally. I don't eat any. I'm an Ondo, I shall actually pound it down.
Right, okay, so clearly.
But semo or fufu, semo.
Oh, aha, see, look at you. So TV or film?
TV.
Aha, King of Series. Definitely
all day,
to
every
be.
day, yeah.
For those who don't get the joke, they call Lani the King of Series.
My crown. Yes.
Rom-com or thrillers?
Oof. That's a tough one because those are two genres alike. Can I give a contextual answer?
Yes.
If it's British TV, rom-com, but on the regular, thrillers maybe. Even that is tough, but I say that because I'm a huge fan of normal people. And it's not even rom-com, it's rom... Okay, you know what? Thrillers. Actually, normal people is not rom-com.
Make up your mind.
Yes, thrillers.
All right. Thank you so much, Lani. It was very lovely talking to you.
And lovely talking to you. Make me look good on camera.
You will.